YouTube community. Today, we are not looking at a guitar pedal. We're looking at the Dr.J Sparrow bass driver and DI brown thing. So does that mean you guitar players should just tune out? Possibly. But are you also kind of producing yourself or recording yourself at home and want to learn a little bit more about how to get a bass really nice and rocky? Well, then stay tuned, because I'm going to show you how I do this with and without the Sparrow. So, for those of you who don't know, I also play bass, like this one, or this one, or this one. Am I a good bass player? I don't know. Works for my stuff and I get hired once in a while. So, I'm not a bass prodigy, but I think it's enough to show you the pedal. So, what is the setup today? The setup is Sandberg, Ken Taylor 5-string basic, very nice bass, active, passive, humbucker, single coil, and we're going straight into the Universal Audio 710D preamp, of course through the pedal, because the pedal has a DI out. Now, it also has a 1/4 inch out to go straight to your amp, but in order to show what that sounds like, you would have to mic the amp, or take the amp DI, and then of course the amp will color greatly. Why record the amp DI if I have a DI out here? So I'm going to show you primarily the DI out. I'm going to try to put it in an amp. I only have a very small amp, but it kicks ass. It's the Phil Jones Bass Cup. If you need an amp this big and play actual gigs with it, that's the amp to get. I'm going to try to put the blue mic right here. Hello. In front of that amp and see if it does anything. But before we do anything, I will show you in a short clip that I've prepared how I get a nice rock bass sound, because the trick is, and I've tried a lot of things, I've tried plugins, I've tried many things, the trick is not to completely distort your bass, because as soon as you distort the bass, all your punch and your low end goes down the drain. What you want to do is mix in the distortion. And the cool thing is, as you can see, well, maybe you can't, do I have that up here somewhere? The Sparrow has a mix knob for the drive. So it's not a distortion only, you can add the drive to it. So I'm going to show you how I do that in production, and I'm going to show you how to do it with the Sparrow. So here we are in Cubase 7 now. You're looking at the dark green track, which is always my bass color for the DI sound, and a red track, which is actually in this case a mic'd track, but let's listen to the DI first. So very nice sound, but remember there's always already plugins on it. So now we're gonna go to the red one, which is actually the Blackheart BH100 guitar amp, mic'd down in the basement, and it's only a mid sound. So the bass is taking out. I only want the distortion to put on top of the very nice punchy DI. Exactly, by itself sounds like total crap. But when you put it together, you have the low end of the DI and you have the nice distortion, and together it should sound like the nice Ampeg rock sound that you're looking for. That's exactly what you need. If you just mic an amp that's distorted, you're lacking the punch in the low end. But when you do it this way, you have both. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to show you what I do today. I don't go through the Blackheart anymore. That's just one step too many, too much of a hassle. I'm actually just copying the bass track, only the audio, no plugins, just plain simple DI sound. And I'm going to call up the mixer here somewhere so you can see it. And I am going to open the built-in amp simulator in Steinberg's Cubase, which is called the VST Amp Rack. And I don't even know what amp pops up, but it's some kind of Marshall emulation. So I call that up, take, bass down a little bit, because I don't want the bass information, I just want the distortion in the mids and the high end. And very important, I go on a different cabinet. I'm going to go on a 212 or 112 cabinet. In this case, we're going to pick the Blackface 212. And remember, we only want the distorted information, so this is it. So it doesn't sound, that great, but once you put it together with the DI information, all of a sudden you've got the sound again. So as you can see, mixing in the distortion signal to the DI is very important, and that's actually what the Sparrow drive from Dr.J does. So now let's look at how they're doing it, and what kind of signal we can expect from this pedal. Okay, got that? So, very easy to replicate. Probably works with any kind of amp plugin. So now we're gonna look at the Sparrow itself. Again, it's plugged straight into a DI into the universal audio thing, going diligently. It's going diligently to the computer, digitally. So, this is our DI signal. We have the bass right now kind of, I always boost the high end a bit, low end a bit, keep the mid, smiley thing. We're on both pickups in humbucker. So, gonna have the mix down and only look at what this thing sounds like without the drive. Doesn't do too much. So we have a low and a high EQ. Fattens it up a bit. I think you kind of need to drive it up. So, gonna put the drive here. Probably won't do too much. I'm gonna crank up the mix. See if we add a little bit of drive, but a lot of it. We add a little bit of drive, but we mix it in a lot. A little bit of fuzz there. Then you've got this Harmonics knob, which will give you nice high end and boost the higher harmonics that the distortion adds. Actually does sound like a nice, slightly driven bass. It's not distortion, it's slightly driven. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see if I can play a little bit on a track. Just improvise a bit, see what happens. Not too shabby. So, what else do you need bass for? Nice blues track. Let's see what it sounds like on the blues. Maybe single coil. Yeah, not too bad. Now we're gonna go drive it with the track 169 that we've heard earlier in my little video. So let's see, we're gonna drive it big time with humbucker. And we're gonna play with the pick, cause that's what the rock and roll guys did. Crank the shit up. Okay, that's a lot. So let's try this.
You gotta love
and so on and so on. That, it does actually really nice. I mean, get this thing on stage, plug it straight into the PA, and get that signal on your monitor speakers, you're good to go. So I'm gonna try to see what it sounds like through an amp, which really isn't a very realistic representation because your amp is probably much bigger and it'll sound like your amp. But let's see. Okay, so in the end we've got an amp with a mic in front of it. So, I don't know if you can see that. It's a Phil Jones bass cup. So, put an AKG mic in front of that thing. Why don't I get a signal here? Ooh, okay. There. So, okay, I got all the technical difficulties figured out. This is the bass cup by itself. And we're gonna have a little bit of drive. As you can see, I took the volume down quite a bit. Nice sound shaping possibilities. Horrible bass playing there. So there you have it, in front of an amp, DI in several tracks. Can't really help you more than that. Oh, how much is it? Yeah, I saw it at Tone Fan. I think they have it for 95 bucks, maybe 100, in that vicinity, around 100 euro. Really not too shabby. Don't want to lug your bass crap around, and you got a very nice mixer and setup in the practice room. Take this straight into the DI, everyone's got a decent sound, including a little bit of drive. What more do you want?